Well, guys, welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started. You've almost made it to the end of agent training, so well done. The last two sessions are going to be featuring Crystal White, so they're going to be amazing. Hope you can make it. Tomorrow, I believe, is on buyers, and then Thursday, last session, will be on listing. So Crystal and I just decided yesterday that we are actually going to start doing new agent training 4 times per year rather than just 2. So we'll be offering that once a quarter now, and then we'll be offering that advanced agent training still 2 times a year as well. So I am building out that training schedule for May for that advanced agent training at the moment. So if you guys are thinking of anything that you would like to be taught, hit me up. Oh my God, Steve, is this baby Logan? We get a baby Logan appearance today? Oh, what could be better? Happy Tuesday, everyone. That's awesome. Thanks for bringing her, Steve. Okay, well, today we have our esteemed panelists with us, Amy Jones, Laura Borum, and Dan McNeil. They're here to talk with us about open houses. So, guys, I'm going to put a spotlight on you, which just means that your pictures will show up nice and big for everyone. But to start us off, I just want you to quickly introduce yourself. So can you say your name, how long you've been in real estate / with Platt, and then what neighborhood you live in. And if you want to throw in any fun facts, I would love that too. Amy Jones, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, I'm Amy. I will be starting my 3rd year, which is crazy, as an agent in March. I live in Franklin Township, so south side of Indianapolis. And what was the other question? Any fun facts?
Any fun facts? You don't have to share that one.
I'm over this weather and ready to escape Indiana for a tropical vacation somewhere. Is my fun fact.
Preach. I love that fun fact. Same here. Dan McNeil, you're up next, sir.
Hi, Dan McNeil. I'm a member of the Indy Urban Advisors team. Got my license 2 years ago this month on Valentine's Day.
Whoa,
yeah.
That is coming up.
Yeah. And fun fact, wow. I wish I was having fun these days, but it's the most fun thing I've done recently was go to the movie with a bunch of you guys down.
Yes.
At,
oh my gosh!
Yeah, I love that movie. And was so happy.
It's so good.
Yeah.
If you guys didn't make it to Groundhog Day, you truly missed out. Oh my God, it was so fun.
There's not a lot of fun going on in the neighborhood these days with everything being closed. So that was a real treat.
Yes. Dan also lives in Fountain Square, and if you didn't know, he is kind of known as the unofficial mayor of Fountain Square. So that's really fun.
Very unofficial.
Very unofficial, but also for real. Dan, also, is this a sweater, a blazer? What are you wearing? It looks amazing.
Oh, it's a sweater I bought in Paris about 4 years ago.
Well, that's bougie and awesome. You look
Your goals, Dan. I literally just had a moment. That was amazing. That whole statement. Goals. Absolutely.
I love this sweater.
Wow. Casual just dropped it. You bought it in Paris. Well done, sir. Okay, Laura, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Laura Borum. I have been a realtor going into my 4th year. So halfway through my 4th year, which is awesome. Yeah. I live in Mapleton Fall Creek, and fun fact, I feel like we have a small urban farm. We have 11 chickens, including a rooster, of which I hate daily, and a bunny. and 2 very large dogs that could function as ponies. So there's my fun fact.
I was really hoping that would be your fun fact. Like, guys, Laura, not kidding, has a legitimate bunny that lives in her house and that is house trained. It goes to the bathroom in litter boxes.
Yeah, for the most part. He's still working
For
on
the
it.
most part.
Yeah.
Anyway, that nothing has made me consider getting a bunny more than Laura having a bunny.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of obsessed with him. He's like, no offense to cat people, but he's like all the best parts of a cat without him being a cat. So
I have heard that before, that statement before, by somebody who had one and thought, this is like having a cat, but he's not a prick.
yeah, they don't meow at you and scratch you and just pee on your personal belongings because they can. So yes, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Oh, that's all right. That's amazing. Noted. Everyone get rid of your cats and get bunnies is what I'm hearing. So, okay, guys, on to open houses. I am going to start off today. I would love to hear from each of you. For you personally, because I'm imagining this this question can have a different answer for a lot of people, but what kind of house makes a good open house? And if you could, I know you guys are all a little further in to being an agent. If you could also think back to, like, for all of these questions, when you were a beginning agent, like, what were the things you did? What were the things that like were important to you? And incorporate the experience you've learned since. But okay, what kind of house makes a good open house for you? Amy, I'm going to start with you again.
So a newly listed house is a really big benefit. If it's been on the market for a while, usually it's not a big attention grabber, unless it's had a recent price drop, in which case that would be put it back in the category of being a good open house. Some people would say that they would target areas of open house where they want to build business. I kind of have my business all over Indianapolis. So mostly for me, it was just finding a house that was available to hold open and that fit those 2 criteria. And then also the time, like the time frame that was going to be available for it. Like, I tried to not pick an open house time frame where there was going to be like the Super Bowl's at night, but like the Colts playing or something like that, where there was something big happening in that afternoon, because a lot of people then just wouldn't come. As for a house, I mean, I would just say one that's listed also well, like with good pictures, and seems like the kind of house that would be attractive to people when they're looking at it online. The description is written well, the pictures are good. And then, you know, as far as, I have only been doing this since the real estate market has been kind of crazy. I've never been in the like slower area of it. So I've also tried to take like expensive listings, cheap listings, like just as long as the description of the house and the pictures are written well. I try to like go all over the map, because then you're finding clients that are like all over the map as well. And again, I'm not focused in one neighborhood or area per se, where I know some people prefer to do that. So
That's great. Laura or Dan, anything that you want to add on there?
I'll just add, when you're just starting out, any open house that you can get is a good one, because it's giving you experience to interact with clients. So take whatever you can get from anybody who's willing to give it to you, just so you can get in front of people and practice your craft. The best open houses are going to be the ones in the right location with the best price, and that's always the bottom line.
Yeah, those are all good things. A couple more things I would add is I think it's helpful to stack them on top of other open houses. So if you notice like another house on the block is having an open house at the same day or the same time, you're just you're doubling your odds of getting people in that house. So that's a great thing to keep an eye on. It's like if you're out driving around and you see an open house sign and you see a plat house that's close to it, just reach out to the agent and ask them if you can hold an open house. And then, yeah, I mean, those are all great things. Walkability, areas where people are walking, and where there's gonna be more like natural foot traffic, I think helps bring in some good people.
That's great. The last tip I would add, I've seen plat agents do this before where there's like some kind of street fair going on, like a couple streets over. Like I know when the Talbot Street Art Fair happens in here in Morton, I feel like all the plat houses are like, we're holding them open this weekend. So lots of opportunities like that in Fountain Square as well. Okay, guys. Do you have a system for planning out your open houses or strategizing for your open houses? Like on Monday, you're checking the market to see like what's on there. Tuesday, you're pulling comps or whatever. Do you have any kind of system or planning out like for your open house? Dan, I'm going to start with you this time.
Well, for the specific open house, deciding on which house to open is, I think, is just as important as how you plan what you're going to do there. And we always, like Amy said earlier, always look at new listings. In our weekly team meetings, we talk about new listings. We discuss what should be open based on where it's at, how quickly we think it'll go, what the client needs are, and if it's been on for a day or two, look at the showing history and see, is it getting a lot of traction? I mean, is it packed up, with showings the very first day, the second day? But as far as that week goes, we try to hold multiple open houses on the same day within our team. That is one of the things we look for, is that does that opportunity exist, and can we get a group of things in the same neighborhood, if not even on the same street? We've had a lot of luck doing that. Someone will come through. At the end, you'll find out from them whether or not it was a place for them. Well, if not, if you want to still keep looking, Steve will have something over here, or Michelle will have something over here, so we can pass them along. So, it's a lot of little things that go into planning them out.
So good. Amy?
So I am not part of a very big team, so I don't, I do things a little bit differently. As far as systems go, I'm a horrible systems person. So I'm the one that's usually like figuring things out on Saturday night before the open house on Sunday. Sorry, it's just the truth. So I don't really have like Monday I do this, Tuesday I do this. I'm kind of figuring all of it out on Saturday. I like to always have a printout or multiple printouts of the actual listing. That has become a little bit more weird with COVID. It got to where I would print out a bunch, nobody would take them. And now I didn't print them out and now people are asking for them again. So it's kind of like, you have to kind of be really flexible and like learn as you go. I also tried to find other neighborhood comps on that Saturday night, like look to see what the prices are going in the neighborhood. And then something else that I like to do is I like to see if there are any other listings, even if they're not open, because the goal of an open house is to attract clients to work with you. And so maybe they don't like the house that you're holding open, but if you can find out that they like the area and you can find out that there's other houses that are listed close by that might suit their needs more, it's a good way to say like, okay, well, these houses are not being held open, but if you would like to see them, then I can set up a private appointment for you and show them to you. And I think that's mainly it for like planning ahead. Just make sure that and also you want to know like, how much is the house listed for? How many bedrooms does it have? How many square feet does it have? Like you want to become familiar with the house because people are going to ask all kinds of questions. And so just making yourself familiar with the house and not kind of like scrambling to find the paper to get the answer, if you can, for like the big major questions.
That's great. Laura?
Yeah. I made like a open house checklist thing that if you want it, Rosie, or I can send it to you. It kind of helps me make sure I'm thinking through everything, have everything done.
Laura, do you mind if I screen share that while you talk? Is that okay?
Totally. These are just things that I have found helpful to do in terms of like prep during and then after an open house. So nothing really that they basically shared a lot of it, but just make sure you schedule the showing times for the open house, do a preview of it before you get there. You want to know, you want to make sure you're comfortable with it. And so it's good to get through it before you have people come through and ask you questions about it. Familiarize yourself with the area, put out open house signs on Friday. So make sure you have those or you know where to find them. You're going to have the most success if you just have as much stuff out there as possible, let people know, market on social media, get that BLC sheet like Amy said. And then I found people don't like to give out their information. So I have found it the most helpful to bring like a local gift card with me from a business and just say, I'm doing a lottery draw for after the open house to win, $25 or $50 at this place. If you leave your name and email for me, I'd love to put you in that. So that's kind of how I get people to sign in for my open house too. So those are kind of my prep things. Yeah.
I'm muted. Yeah, we'll get into some of those other columns in just a bit. So Laura, you said that you preview the house. Amy, Dan, do you preview? Yes, no?
Absolutely. If not days before, at least the hour before, take a good deep look tour of the house to make sure that you understand what you're talking about when you're asked questions. You're going to be asked questions no matter what.
Yeah.
Be
Dan,
prepared as possible.
What like you're going to get in a situation in an open house where someone asks you a question and you don't know it. What do you do in that situation?
Kindly tell them that you're going to dig into the listing a little bit while they look around and see if you can get an answer, or you make a call. Try to keep them engaged, but still there and get the answer. And if you can't, then, offer to follow up with them afterwards.
Yeah, that's great. Amy, preview, not preview? What's your thing?
I usually get there early, and that's my preview. I've previewed it because usually when I'm offering to do open houses, I've kind of, like I said, I've looked at the listing before. So I've looked at the pictures online and kind of like if there's a Matterport, I've looked at that. But I try to get to the open house plenty early so that, during COVID times, so that I can turn on all the lights, open all the doors, open all the closets, like try to make it like a least touch of surfaces. People are always going to touch the cabinets and whatever and open the drawers and see if they're soft closed. But I try to get there early enough so that I can do all of those things. And I'm not like rushing around trying to do that while people are coming in. Have I also been there at the last minute? Yeah, I have. And then you just have to kind of scramble and make it work. So.
Amy, much appreciated on the honesty. It's like, it's happened to all of us for sure. So that's great. Guys, what do you bring to an open house? Like, I don't know if anyone has seen Andy Porter's whole setup. Homeboy brings plants and like a letterboard. He's very, like, I love the setup. No one's saying you have to do that, but I'm curious, what do you guys bring to your open houses? Laura, I'm going to start with you.
Yes, I've Amy, I'm with you. I've totally been like 30 minutes before the open house running by Kroger to get my supplies, and then like 10 minutes before and just praying to Jesus that nobody's there when I show up. So I'm giving best practices, not like what, we could have a session on like what you shouldn't do for open house prep. And I can totally help with that too. COVID's kind of funny with like drinks and food and stuff. So that's a little bit trickier. My team's been doing these little like individual cups of snacks that are like pre-portioned out. So if people want to take it when they leave, that's been helpful. But in a normal time, I always have champagne or wine and beer, and then some type of snack, and then a prize. And then I bring the BLC sheet, any other marketing material that I have in my business cards. So that's my pretty standard setup.
That's good. Thanks, Laura. Amy, what about you?
BLC sheets, again, COVID is weird. Usually I would have some kind of a drink or a snack, but I don't do that right now because I end up taking everything and then bringing everything home because nobody really wants to have a stranger snack or drink. And then like making sure my open house signs, and I have all of that in my car. I also have put them out beforehand. So, but I also have I have a banner that's like a flag, and I don't put that out beforehand because I'm sure that somebody would take it. So I put that up before on the outside. And then I sometimes bring plat pens because people usually take the BLC sheet and like want to write notes on it. And so I usually have some plat pens available, my business cards. And then I also have my computer with me because I usually like to have the listing, like I have the listing pulled up on my computer so that they can like look through it if they want to on the computer.
That's so good.
How many signs do I have? I personally have one open house sign with 3 different riders that go on top. I've never done, again, I'm not in a big team. So it's just my open house sign with my name and number. And then I have 3 different riders with times on it. And then I do have the open house flag that is just more eye-catching. And then I put that out in front of the sign. So I think I read your question right, but yes.
Yeah, that's perfect. Guys, a couple of notes on what Amy said. First, you can get open house signs, ones that are directional with the arrows on our Platte Commons website. You can order straight through that. You can also get writers or pens, any kind of signage that you would need can go through there. If you don't know, Platte open house signs are a real hot commodity in the indie market, and people love to steal them, like love it. So we used to keep like a big stash of them at the Platte office, and we had to stop doing it because they got stolen so often that we like couldn't keep up with that. So anyway, now they're available for you to buy. There was something else I was gonna say. But I'm forgetting. Dan, what do you have to add? What do you bring?
Listing sheets can never have enough of those. Everybody walks in an open house and I have gets handed a listing sheet. Any kind of flyer, marketing flyer that's been put together for that specific property, I have those available. Business cards, signs. Rosie is correct. I've had half a dozen signs stolen off the street on my open houses. I don't know what the attraction is to owning one of those, but I've had them stolen. It's why I can't put them out too early in the week because that guarantees that they'll be stolen. And then, as far as snacks and beer, all of my answers are for a non-COVID world because it is so different now. But I found that beer we sampled beer from a brewery that is in proximity to the listing, to where the open house is. So if I'm doing one in Fountain Square, I try to get something from Upland or from Fountain Square Brewery or from any of the places in this neighborhood, and that same goes for others. And we just get a growler or 2 of different beers and cups, and it seems to go over really, really well.
Yeah, that's so great. A note on the beer for non-COVID times, there's koozies in the office for free. So if you ever wanted to pick some of those up, we have quite a few different free items, but there's koozies, folders, pins, stationery, all kinds of good stuff for you guys to grab. Okay, I'm gonna hit up some of these questions in the chat. Jamie asked, how much attendance do you guys typically get at your open houses? You know, it totally depends on the house, but can you give me like a range of what you normally see? Dan, I'll start with you.
I've had as many as 60 people at an open house, and I've had open houses where no one has shown up. And typically, all of the poor attendance has been COVID related. It really depends on the neighborhood and the price. I mean, it really depends on the house and how many people are going to show up. If it's something that is priced below 300,000, there's going to be quite a bit of traffic. If it's a house in a neighborhood that is a curiosity, there's going to be a lot of traffic from neighbors. So it's really a crapshoot. You can never anticipate how many people are going to show up.
Dan, for that open house where you had 60 people, like how did you deal with that number of human beings coming through the house? Was that pre or post COVID?
That was actually right at the beginning of COVID, and it was a chore. I mean, there were people just nonstop coming in and out. Luckily, it was a big house, so everyone could stay apart from one another. But you know, I'm trying to talk to people. I'm trying to wet wipe and keep surfaces clean. I mean, it was that 2 hours flew by. Because I was so busy. It's like I was waiting tables. I mean, it would just flew right by. And I did not get to really engage with everyone who came through outside of counting them and handing them, you know, flyers. But, you know, it was a good problem to have.
Yeah, sometimes it's like that. Dan, one more question for you, and then I'm going to move on to someone else. For people that come to your open houses, how do they usually hear about it? Is it through the signs you put out, BLC, social media, or do you really know?
Almost exclusively online. You put it in the BLC, it gets populated out to the other sites. And the only people who come from the signs are neighbors who are curious. Rarely will you get somebody who comes in and says, "Oh, I'm house hunting and I saw your sign and decided to come in." It does not happen very often. Luckily, that stuff can get populated online, and people will set up their own tour and go out and do it on that Sunday.
That's great. Laura, same questions for you. How much attendance do you typically get, and how do they hear about it?
Usually it is online, or they see a sign and they're walking by. I would say I've gotten anywhere same as Dan, 0, probably not 60. I'd like to know where that open house was, Dan. That's amazing. But probably like I've gotten around 30 to 40 at my most. And usually that is when like it's stacked with another open house, either on my team on the same street, or there's like something going on in the area where it's really nice weather out. So that's sort of my range. Yeah.
We were just north of Chatham Arch, right around the old north side. Very expensive listing, I might add, and went pending almost immediately.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. AB, anything to add there? Okay. Guys, maybe a silly question, but how do you dress for an open house? I would love all of your perspectives. Is it casual, formal? Where are you at? Dan, do you wear your sweater from Paris?
This sweater rarely leaves the house. It's business casual. You know, I try to wear some type of blazer or nice jacket, but yeah, just business casual.
And do you wear like a name tag or like anything to show that you're the actual realtor, or no?
If I could remember where it was, I might wear it.
That's so good. Yeah, for sure. Laura, what about for you?
Business professional is usually what I wear. Yeah, some type of blazer, skirt, nice pants type of thing.
Yep, for sure. Amy, where are you at? Same thing?
Same thing. I will just caution, pay attention to the weather outside, because I have worn a dress one time trying to get an open house sign up in a dress with the wind was not very fun. I think some of the neighbors might have seen more than they needed to. So that I always try to pay attention. After that, I'm like, is it, like, what is the weather and what should I wear? Because I might need to wear pants today and not a dress.
See, and
So
Amy, that's one way to get people to your open house.
true.
If you're going
That
for
is
that vibe.
Yeah, that is true. So but I usually try to also something comfortable, because especially comfortable shoes, because I like to stand up the whole time. I do not like to be sitting on the couch when people are coming in. So just make sure that your shoes are comfortable, because the vast majority of the time you will be standing on your feet for 2 hours. So you don't want to, I mean, high heels look very pretty, but if you're like clomping around like your feet hurt by the end of the day, it doesn't look great. So
Oh, high heels. I hate them so much. Guys, what are your thoughts on bringing information about the neighborhood? Is that something you ever do? Are you like, like pulling comps about other houses? Or are you just bringing like, hey, look at all these restaurants in this neighborhood? Anything like that? Amy, I'm going to start with you.
I pull comps. I keep that information usually to myself unless someone is actually asking for it. I do try to familiarize myself with the neighborhood. Part of getting there early is like driving around and seeing what's close by, or like pulling it up on the map before when I'm doing my Saturday night last minute Lucy stuff. But I try to say as little, people will always ask like, questions that we can't answer, like, is this a safe neighborhood, or stuff like that. And I try to like steer away from all of that by knowing what is available in the neighborhood. So they'll say, is it a safe neighborhood? I'm like, well, it's really close to this park and this park. And like I just, you have to be really careful what you're saying when you respond to those. So the only way to kind of steer away from those questions is to know about the neighborhood that you're showing houses in. And so yes, I think that that's a really important part of research. I don't usually have the comps out for people to just look at. Most people aren't really going to know what they are looking at, but I like to know that for myself. And I think, was that your question? Does that answer the question?
Yep, that's
okay.
Perfect. Thank you. Dan, do you bring information on the neighborhood? If so, what?
Yes. One of the, we have neighborhood flyers here in Fountain Square that the Merchants Association puts out every couple of years or every year sometimes. But people always love to see that. And they will take that before they'll take a copy of the listing sometimes. So it's very helpful. And having some flyers that talk about what the neighborhood can offer, if that's available. And Amy is correct. Knowing what's in the neighborhood, a lot of people, when they're looking in urban environments, want to know the walkability factor for different neighborhoods, and of course they always ask, is it safe? Is there crime? And she's exactly right. You try to just bring out the positive things about the neighborhood. And this neighborhood is as safe as any neighborhood. It's all relative, and people will have different opinions about what safe is. So I can't tell you my opinion on that, because my opinion of safe is going to be different from yours anyway. So yes, flyers about the neighborhood and just your general info or knowledge of the neighborhood absolutely helps.
Guys, when you're faced with that question of is this neighborhood safe, do you ever like directly say like, I can't speak to that, or I'm not allowed to speak to that as a realtor? Or do you guys always just try to like strategically move the conversation?
When I'm asked that in Fountain Square, my answer is always the same. I've lived here for nearly 20 years, and I moved my daughter and I moved here when she was in middle school. And if that doesn't answer it, then I have nothing else.
Yeah, that's great. Laura, information on neighborhoods at your open houses. Do you do it?
I usually have a marketing material that, along with the description, typically all of my descriptions try to highlight something about the neighborhood that I am like allowed to highlight. So like walkability, you know, driving minutes to downtown, driving minutes to, you know, Broader or things like that are really specific that help people kind of get a vision. But again, like they said, anything that's helpful, that's going to benefit the home about the neighborhood, I try to share that. Or up and coming development would be the other thing that I try to share in terms of like, oh, this new trail is getting put in right now, or I know this park is going to be put in the next year. So things that they wouldn't know that might help them have that information.
That's great.
One other thing, sorry, Rosie.
Yeah,
if you're not in the like Center Township area and you're in like Franklin or Perry, or it's really handy to know what school the house goes to. So like what elementary school, because inevitably there are going to be people that ask that question. So looking that up and making sure that you know what the elementary school is, what the middle school is, and what the high school is, when you're not doing stuff like maybe right in Center Township is a good thing to know as well.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Amy. Schools are really complicated in Indy. I'm planning on having a training on that in May, actually. So, okay, I'm gonna hit you guys with this awesome question that Phil just asked. Okay, he says, I struggle with open house hosting expectations. Full disclosure, I don't do open houses a lot. Early in my career, I went all out with signage, food, drinks, packets, etc. Nowadays, I don't do food. I don't always do open house signs around the neighborhood because people have told me they heard about the open house via Zillow, not my signs. So what have you found to be the minimum expectations for open house goers, and how do you meet those expectations without creating more work for yourself? I'm just going to leave that open. Do any of you guys want to take a stab? Laura, you unmuted yourself.
I'm a firm believer that you can do all these work, all this extra stuff. And I think it can help draw people. I think it can help people feel welcomed and comforted. But at the end of the day, you're selling yourself. And that's really what matters the most at an open house. So truthfully, I think just being able to come in to where you feel like you can be fully present and available and engage with clients is the best thing you can do for yourself, even if you just bring your business cards and you have no signs out. The biggest benefit is people they want to feel heard by you, they want to feel cared for by you, and they want to see that you're the expert. And so being present and available and mentally like there is something you can do without bringing anything physical. So that would be my thought.
I agree. I agree with Laura. They want somebody to answer their questions, no matter how large or small they are. And if you can answer, I mean, you can have all the bells and whistles there, but at the end of the day, if you don't know about the neighborhood, if you don't know about the house, that's what they're going to walk away with. It's great that they had beer. It's great that they gave little gifts to my kids, but he didn't know anything about the house. He didn't know anything about the neighborhood. He couldn't answer any of my questions. So being prepared, at the very minimum, just be prepared to answer all of those questions. And if they can walk away with all those answers, then I think you've satisfied the people who come to the open house.
I also think we have to remember there's a misconception that holding an open house is trying to get you to sell that house in particular. And that's not, I've never had an open house where somebody was like, I'm ready to put an offer on this house right now. So you're not trying to sell. I mean, ideally, yeah, that would be great to sell the house, but more than that, the house is probably going to have been seen, and you're trying to sell yourself, and being genuine and being welcoming and being just available, while also not being super annoying and like following someone from room to room and like trying to listen to everything that they say so that you can find out what they need. You're not trying to sell. The goal is to sell the services that you have to offer, not necessarily to sell that particular house to somebody that walks in the door. So I think it's important to remember that, I mean, everything that we do comes back to us, right? Like, you know, you want to pick someone that's going to want to work with you for the things and the strengths that you offer. And so I think the minimum expectation is show up, know your stuff, and be kind. And then I guess anything after that, people will either find as a bonus or will find super annoying, depending on the person, because everybody has a different opinion.
That's so good. Guys, Phil says thanks. So you're at your open house, you're hosting clients, or not clients, but people you've never met. Strangers walk in the door. What's your move? Like, what do you say? How do you guide the conversation? Are you like, let me give you a tour, or take a self-guided tour, or here's some popcorn, or welcome? What do you say? Dan, starting with you.
I try not to overwhelm them. I don't get in their face. I don't offer to show them around. I say hello. I hand them a listing. I tell them my name, and if they have any questions, please feel free to ask and to look around the house. If there's anything tricky about the floor plan, like they won't be able to find the stairs to get somewhere, I'll point that out to them. Otherwise, I let them tour on their own, and then I try to engage them at least before they leave with a business card, and just to see if they have any general impressions. But you know, some people like to sneak out, and you know, the Irish exit works well for me. So sometimes that's the way they want to do it, and you just have to let that flow.
Amazing. Thanks, Dan. Laura, what's the move when someone walks in the door?
I greet them. I give them a quick high level price, size, bedroom count. And then I say, like, please walk around, help yourself, and let me know if any questions. And then when they're done is usually when I try to engage them in conversation. So kind of like what Amy said, honestly, people love being asked about themselves. And so you really want to spend a lot of time getting to know them, because they're going to walk away and feel like, oh, they really wanted to know about me. That feels great. And that's the best move you can have in an open house, honestly.
That's great. Amy, what you got for me?
I try to make sure that I greet everybody when they first come in. I, same as Laura, say the like price, square feet, bedroom count. I always try to say, make sure that you pay attention to, or the master bathroom is really cool. We've gotten a lot of good feedback about that. You know, make sure you take time to check that out, or just do like say something, a special feature about the house. And then also, you know, give them the listing paper, and then let them know too, like at the end, if they have any questions, please to reach out. I think it's also really important that while I am not a systems person, in general, I do like to have the same, I want to make sure that I'm having the same kind of, you know, interaction with each person, so long as they allow it, because I don't want anybody to say, well, she said spent extra time with this person, but didn't spend this time with me. Or so I try to make sure that I'm treating everyone the same way, at least. And then one thing I did do when COVID was like really strong and we were doing open houses, that actually was one of the best open houses I've ever had, was I only allowed one like group of people to go in, so like the same family to go into the house at one time. And then I had the other set of people who were waiting outside, but then that was a really cool time for me to get to like talk to the people and like figure out what they were looking for and like get to know them on a more personal basis. So that was, I don't know how long we can do that for. It's kind of mean to do it when it's cold outside and say only one person can go in at a time, but that was really, it felt like the most successful open house, because I left and I really paid attention to everyone's name. I knew all of the groups and what they were looking for and where they lived. And because it forced us to have some extra conversation before they were allowed into the house. So again, like Laura said, it's really about, it's less about the house and more about, you know, getting to know the people and making them feel like they're important. And making them feel like the things that they want. Because I feel like a lot of open houses, and I've been, as like before I got my license, there's some agents that are like super pushy and like follow you around and want your name and want your phone number and want all of this information. And then 3 years later, even when you have your license and you tell them that, they're still calling you and asking you about a house. So I try not to be that person, but there, you know, you want to get to know them, but you don't ever want them to feel like you're never going to leave them alone as well.
Amy, that is a perfect segue for our next question. I want to talk about gathering information, like contact information from people that visit your open house. Do you do it? If so, how do you do it? And then if you do, what does your follow-up look like on that? Amy, I'm just going to go ahead and start with you.
So I have never thought about doing what Laura does with the drawing. That's a really good idea. I try to do it where it feels more natural. Like they have a question and I'm like, hey, you know what? I don't know the answer to that question. Let me contact the listing agent. Would you mind giving me your phone number? And then I save their phone number right in my phone so that I can text them right away. But then again, I'll text them the answer to the question, let them know that if they have any other questions about the property or any nearby properties, I would be happy to answer it for them. But I'm not going to call them 3 years from now and tell them like, hey, about the property that we saw 3 years ago, you know, it's on the market again. Would you be interested? You know, it's just, it has to feel natural for me to be able to want to do it. If it feels unnatural, it makes me like icky. And so I feel like it would make my clients feel the same way. So yeah, I always try to get phone numbers. And again, they don't love doing it. It's not like they have to have a reason. So because they have a question or because they're going to get a prize, it's a very egocentric. The only reason they'll give you their name and number is for an egocentric reason, not just because they are so gracious and love the open house that they would love to give you that information.
That's great, Amy. Thanks. Dan, what do you got for me?
Laura it came up with the best scenario to collect info. You have to realize whatever you do collect, those leads have a very short shelf life. If they're looking for a house, they're going to find one. And there's no need for you to contact them 5 or 6 months later. They're looking right now. The chances are they're going to find one right now. And if you've got a reason to engage with them, if you've got that information, make that initial contact afterwards. But hounding them, begging them to be their agent never works, never turns out in your favor. And you can't sustain that because they're you know, all they have to do is say, I'm working with another agent and you need to back off and take the cues from them. You know, if they're being very reluctant, then accept it and move on.
Perfect. Laura, I know you already said the drawing thing. What does your feedback, or not feedback, what does your follow-up look like?
Yeah, so I think the entry for the prize gives me a good onboarding to follow up with everybody afterwards in terms of either you won it or you didn't. Thank you so much for coming to the open house. And then I'm kind of the mentality, like, and maybe it's a little bit of like the salesy background for me, but like it takes 3 no's for people sometimes. And so I also hate pestering people and I hate being that stereotypical person, but I would say like, I think it's good to follow up at least 1 month later. And what I would do is I would say, hey, it was so nice to meeting you at this open house. This other listing came on that I thought was really interesting. And it made me think of you and what we talked about during our conversation. So you have something to offer them, not just like, I want your business, but also like, hey, I thought of you. This is another great house that could be an option for you. Hope you're doing well. And then after that, I would just leave it alone personally. So I think two follow-ups is good for me.
Laura, that's so good. I love the fact that you're following up with a piece of value. And I think that's really important. Whenever you're following up with any sort of lead, like trying not to reach out, just be like, hey, how's it going? But instead being like, hey, I have a purpose for calling you. And this is what it is. That's great. Jamie just asked a really great question. She says, if it's not your listing, what kind of feedback is useful to give to the listing agent afterwards? And you guys, as listing agents, you could speak towards that as well. When people hold your houses open, what do you like to see? Amy, I'll start with you.
So I always, when I am the listing agent, I try to give the same feedback as an open house agent that I would want to receive as a listing agent. The one thing I would say is do it fairly soon after the open house, because usually the sellers are waiting for that feedback as well. So if you're taking like until the end of the next week to give your feedback, it's really not helpful. So how many people showed up? What the major, like, what did they say that they loved? Did they love the master bathroom? Did they love the floors? Did they think the kitchen was awesome? What were the high points? And usually for most people, that will be the same thing over and over again. And I always like to ask people, like, as they're leaving, like, hey, what was your favorite part about the house? Or, hey, is there anything that you think of that we could improve to make this like, better? Do we need to declutter? If they say, well, I need 4 bedrooms. Okay, sorry, we can't help you there. But, so the highlights of the house, the things that people consistently comment on: the backyard is too small for their needs. There's too much, just anything like that comes up. And then just giving that feedback fast. So if you can, like, even after the open house, just take 10 minutes and sit in your car and write out an email or give the listing agent a call and say, like, hey, these were the things that came up. And always to say thank you. I always say thank you as well. Like, thank you for letting me hold the house open. I really appreciate it. Because it's a privilege to get to do that. For someone to trust you to hold their house open, it's not something that I take lightly either.
Yeah, that's so good, Amy. Thanks. Also, random kind of follow-up question to this, or tag along to this question. Is that just like an email that you're sending to a listing agent, or does it go through showing time? How does that feedback being given work? Dan, you'll start and then also answer the feedback question.
It's an email or a text or a phone call. And I usually do it just like Amy, right immediately following the open house when everything's fresh in my mind. I even take notes while I'm keeping count. I take notes during, and I tell the listing agent, if it's not mine, the good and the bad. What did people like? What did people not like? All the information is going to be useful. And if it's to a client, I'm a little more tactful in telling them about the things that people don't like, but still, you need to throw that out there. You need to get it to them as soon as possible. If you need to make any changes, then make them right away.
Great. Laura, anything to add?
This is probably a little bit of an insider track, but like with the listing that's been on the market for a while, we all have those sellers that don't want to believe what we're telling them as their list agent, whether it's price, or maybe you need to paint this wall, or maybe this kitchen countertop needs replaced. So I have asked specifically on my team, like, what are the challenges for you and your seller right now? And how can I also help in my feedback with that? So I think giving feedback and showing times that the seller is going to see, and then feedback directly to the agent are kind of two different things entirely, and what you would want to say and what you want to share about the open house and how it went. So usually doing both, I think, is a good idea.
Yeah, that's so great. Okay, 2 things I want to close out with. One, Minna just dropped a great tip in the chat. She said she uses an app called Open Home Pro, where people can sign in on that rather than like physically filling it out on a sheet. She says you can also prompt it as asking for them for feedback for the seller to help them sell the house, and it allows you to fill out the questions it asks. So yeah, that would be great. Second thing I want to say while I have a captive new agent audience is you will see things called brokers opens. This is just when agents are holding houses open for other agents. It's not for anyone outside of agents. A lot of the times when they happen at Platt, they're exclusively for Platt agents. These are so good for you to go to. If there is a broker's open, put it on your calendar and get there. Number one, there's amazing snacks. Number two, it's like a fun opportunity to hang out with Platt agents. But number three, it's a really amazing way for you to wrap your mind around how other agents analyze houses. So if you go to one of these things, I would recommend like finding an agent who's been around for a little bit, grabbing onto them and saying, hey, can we walk around this house together and you show me like, what do you see? One of my favorite people to do this with is Jenny Bliss, because she grew up in a family that were builders. And so she can walk around the house and be like, you see that? That floor is slanted. And I'm like, what the, how do you even know that that floor is slanted? She's like, you can't feel that? I'm like, no, I can't feel that. Anyway, it's a really great thing for you to do. So yes, go to Brokers Opens. Guys, that is it for today. Amy, Dan, Laura, thank you so much for being here and for your expertise and sharing with us. Much appreciated. Everyone else, have a great day. See you tomorrow for Crystal White. Cheers, everyone. Happy birthday, Gigi. Bye.